So this all happened on Saturday night, and honestly, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. I got home around 6 p.m. Just a typical evening, nothing out of the ordinary. I had planned to relax, maybe catch up on some shows, unwind a bit. Not long after, I got a call from my husband. He let me know he was stuck at work and wouldn't be able to pick up his daughter, she's 5, from her mom's place. So he tells me, hey, her mom's just going to drop her off at our house instead. And I'm like, all right, no problem. At this point, I'm thinking I'll see them both soon. I'm in the house, watching TV, just waiting. Now, fast forward to 8 p.m. That's 2 full hours later. Out of nowhere, my dog starts barking like crazy and jumping up at the window. He's usually a good watchdog, but this was different. So I get up, head over to the window to see what's going on, and I notice something strange. The water in the pool is moving, like really wavy. That's not normal. I go outside to check, and I see her. The little girl, my husband's daughter, is in the pool, unconscious. I sprint over, pull her out, and she's not breathing. I'm freaking out. My hands are shaking, but I dial for an ambulance and try to do whatever I can, chest compressions, anything. I really thought she was gone. But somehow, miraculously, the paramedics got there in under 10 minutes and managed to save her. She's okay now, fully recovered, thank God. But I'm still in shock. Now, here's the part that really messes with me. I had no idea she had even been dropped off. No knock at the door, no text, no call. Her mom, and I swear to this, just left her in front of the house, alone. No one told me she was here. And get this, when her mom found out what happened, she rushed over and completely lost it. Started screaming at me, accusing me of trying to hurt her daughter, calling me a murderer. I tried explaining, calmly at first, that I didn't know she was dropped off, that no one told me, that no one came in or even knocked. She wasn't hearing it. She just kept yelling, telling me she was going to fight me, telling me she was going to hold me under the water so I could know what that felt like. Like, what? And I'll be real with you, if it hadn't been for my dog barking at the window, I never would have known the girl was out there. I wouldn't have gone outside, and she might not have made it. I told her mom that. I said it flat out. If my dog hadn't reacted, I wouldn't have found her. I didn't even know she was here. And then she spit on me. Yeah, spit right in my face. At that point, the police had to get involved. They held her back, and my husband showed up not long after. Everything was chaos, just awful energy all around. And it didn't stop there. Later that night, I started getting phone calls. First from her parents, the girl's grandparents. Threats, nasty things. They accused me too, didn't ask what happened, just came in guns blazing. Then I started getting calls from random people. Friends of hers, I guess? Strangers to me. Same story. They clearly only heard her version of events. And they came at me like I was some kind of monster. Now I know, or at least I feel, like this isn't my fault. But after all this backlash, I started second-guessing myself. Like, was there something more I could have done? Let me fill in some extra details, just so it's clear. First, I do have a fence around the backyard. It's not like it's open access to the pool or anything, and usually that gate is locked. Always. But that day, it wasn't. That's on me. I'll own that. I should have double-checked. But here's the thing. This house is mine, and I don't even live here full-time right now. I'm in the middle of renovating it. This was literally the first time my husband's daughter had ever been at this place. She didn't know it, she didn't know the layout, she didn't know where anything was. So it's beyond me why her mom would just leave her in front of the house, no knocking, no communication, nothing, and expect a 5-year-old to, what, find her way in? And it's not like you can see the backyard or the pool from the street. I don't even know how she ended up back there. I'm not blaming her. I mean, she's 5. But I'm just saying there's no way she knew where she was going. This wasn't familiar territory for her. Also, I should clarify, in my country, there's no legal requirement to have a separate fence around the pool itself. It's standard to have a pool cover, which I do, but I had taken it off earlier that day to let the water warm up a bit. Totally forgot to put it back on. Again, I'll own that too. But I didn't know she was there. She wasn't supposed to just be dropped off without warning. And if anyone had knocked, if anyone had even just texted me, hey, she's outside, I would have known. I would have been there. I would have kept her safe. Instead, I was blindsided, and now I'm being treated like the villain in this story. I know how bad it looks, and I know emotions are running high, but I also know what happened, and I know what I did the moment I found her. I didn't hesitate, I didn't freeze, I acted, I saved her. And now I'm the one being screamed at, threatened, spit on. I honestly don't even know how to process this. So after everything calmed down a little, and I say a little very loosely, I started piecing things together in my head. The whole thing just doesn't sit right. Like, who drops off a 5-year-old at a house she's never been to before and doesn't even wait to make sure someone's there? Doesn't knock, doesn't call, doesn't even walk the kid to the door? It's just completely irresponsible. And I get it. I'm not her mom. I'm not even her stepmom in the legal sense. I'm just married to her dad. But I've never been anything but respectful and kind to that little girl. And I've never had an issue with her mom, at least not before this night. But now, after this, she acted like I had plotted this or something, like I was just sitting there waiting for a child to drown in my backyard. That's the kind of vibe she came at me with. No grace, no curiosity about what actually happened, just rage. She went nuclear right away. And I know some of that might be panic. I know fear makes people lash out. If my kid had a near-death experience, I'd be freaked out too. But there's a line between being scared and being abusive, between being concerned and being cruel. She didn't ask me a single question. She didn't even try to understand the situation. She just launched into full-blown accusations and threats, like I was guilty before anyone knew a thing. And not just her. Like I said, her parents got involved too. They called me up talking about how I was going to pay for this, how they were going to make sure everyone knows what I did. Like, okay, what did I do exactly? Be home, watching TV, and not magically know there was a child in the backyard that no one told me was even coming? Let's be honest here. If I had just gone to bed early that night or hadn't noticed the dog barking, this story could have ended tragically. That's the truth. I'm not a hero, but I reacted fast and did everything I could to save her. And it worked. She's safe. She's alive. But somehow that's not enough. Somehow, to them, the fact that she ended up in the water at all is my fault. Like I had control over every moving part of that evening. And here's another layer to this. My husband. He showed up right as everything exploded. You know when people walk into a room and you can just feel the tension in the air? That was him. He walked into his daughter nearly drowning, his wife being screamed at and spat on, the police already on scene. It was a mess. At first, I could tell he didn't know what to do or say. He looked at me, looked at her mom, looked at the police. Everyone was shouting. It was too much. But once I explained what happened, once he realized I wasn't even told his daughter was dropped off, I saw it click for him. He started defending me. He told them flat out, "You didn't even knock. You didn't tell her you dropped our daughter off." He tried to calm things down, but at that point, it was like throwing a glass of water on a wildfire. The girl's mom just kept going, now turning on him, yelling about how he let me get away with this, how I always get protected, and a bunch of stuff that honestly just sounded like personal baggage from their past. At that point, the police officers told everyone to calm down or they'd start removing people from the scene. That's how chaotic it got. Later, when it was just me and my husband, we sat down and talked it through. I needed to know where he stood. I needed to know if he was blaming me too, even a little. He said no. He said he didn't blame me at all, that he was just glad his daughter was okay, that he understood how serious this could have been, and that he was furious his ex dropped off their daughter without even making contact. And look, I was relieved to hear that. I really was. But it still doesn't erase the trauma of what happened that night. You don't just forget pulling a lifeless child out of a pool. You don't forget the sound of someone screaming threats at you while the police hold them back. You don't forget getting spit on in your own backyard. And now it feels like I'm walking around with this target on my back, like I've been branded the villain in a story that's missing all the context. Since that night, I've been getting messages, comments on my social media, people saying things like, "How could you let this happen?" Or "You shouldn't be near kids." People who weren't even there, who don't know me, acting like they have the full picture. And that's what sucks the most. The way people rush to pick a side before knowing the facts. The way stories get twisted the second they're shared emotionally. All it takes is one person, especially a parent, to spin a narrative that paints them as the victim, and boom, you're the bad guy. You're the careless stepmother. You're the almost murderer. No one pauses to ask, wait, does this make sense? And now, despite doing everything I could in that moment to save her daughter, I'm the one carrying the guilt. I'm the one dealing with the threats, the fear, the judgment. But here's the thing. I won't carry shame that doesn't belong to me. Yes, I should have locked the gate. That's real. I should have put the pool cover back on. That's on me too. I've owned that from the beginning, and I'll do better. Believe me, I already installed a backup alarm and ordered an automatic locking gate for the pool area. But beyond that, I'm not going to accept full responsibility for something that never should have happened in the first place if a basic level of communication had occurred. Because when you're dropping off a child, especially one that's 5 years old, it's your job to make sure they're safely handed over to an adult. It's your job to walk them to the door. It's your job to make sure someone is actually home and aware. That's just parenting 101. And I feel like I'm stuck in this storm of other people's poor choices, trying to defend myself from lightning I didn't summon. In the days that followed, the fallout just kept spreading. It wasn't just angry phone calls anymore. Now it was messages, DMs, posts, people tagging me in things. It was like this whole mini smear campaign had started, all based on a version of the story that conveniently left out some really crucial facts, like the fact that no one told me the child was being dropped off, or that no one knocked, or that I saved her life. And don't get me wrong, I get why people are emotional. A child almost drowned. That's terrifying. That leaves scars. But what I don't get is how the outrage skips the most obvious question. Why was a 5-year-old left alone? You want to be mad? Be mad at the situation. Be mad at the miscommunication. But don't direct all of that fury at the one person who actually did something when it mattered. You know what else I realized? If my dog hadn't barked, none of this would even be a story. The girl wouldn't have made it. And then I really would have been blamed, maybe even arrested. And still, no one would have asked the most basic question, why was she alone? It's like people are more interested in pointing fingers than actually fixing what went wrong. That's why I've been replaying that night in my head, over and over. Could I have done something differently? Should I have checked outside earlier? But then again, why would I? I had no reason to believe anyone was out there. The plan was that her dad was going to pick her up. There was no update, no change of plans text, just silence, then a near tragedy. And that silence nearly killed a child. After thinking it through, I've made some changes. First, I've reinforced the entire backyard gate system. New locks, auto latch, alarms. I'm also getting a new pool cover, one that stays locked in place unless I physically remove it. I never, ever want this kind of thing to come close to happening again. Not at my house. But while I'm taking responsibility for what I could have done better, I still need to say this loud and clear. I wasn't the one who dropped a child off with no warning. That wasn't me. And I think that's what's really frustrating about all this. The complete lack of accountability from anyone else. Not once did the girl's mom say, maybe I should have knocked, or maybe I should have waited until someone opened the door, or even just, maybe I overreacted. It's like her whole perspective is, you were home, so it's your fault, end of story. But that's not how responsibility works. Just because I was physically in the house doesn't mean I automatically knew someone had arrived, especially when no one let me know. And I want to stress again, this was the first time the little girl had ever been to my house. She didn't even know where the front door was. She didn't know the layout. She was basically a stranger to this property. So expecting her to wander around alone and somehow avoid danger is just negligent. No sugarcoating it. Now here's where things get even messier and honestly, kind of disturbing. After the story started spreading around, I got a call from someone who knows both families. Not a close friend, more like an acquaintance. She told me that apparently the mom has a history of this kind of behavior. Not the child endangerment part, though who knows, but the emotional outbursts, the rage, the way she reacts when things go sideways, and suddenly things started making more sense. Not excusable, just clearer. The explosive reaction, the accusations, the threats, the spitting. It wasn't about what actually happened. It was about control, about narrative, about being seen as the victim no matter what. And that's what this really comes down to: perspective. To her, I was careless. I was the one who let this happen. To me, I was blindsided by something I wasn't even told about and then had to perform emergency CPR on a 5-year-old. Those are very different realities. So, yeah, I've been struggling, not just with the event itself, but with how quickly people turned against me, how fast the mob mentality took over. It makes you feel unsafe, like your reputation can be shattered by someone else's panic. And that's a terrifying thought, right? That someone else's failure to communicate can become your burden. That their version of the story, if told loud enough and emotionally enough, will drown out the truth. No pun intended. Now I'm left asking myself, how do I move forward? I've talked to my husband about boundaries, about making sure this never happens again. If his daughter's going to come over, we both need to be informed. Confirmed. Triple confirmed. No more drop-offs without knocking. No more assuming someone's probably home. I'm also taking space from his ex and her family. I need distance. I can't pretend everything's fine when I'm being called names and threatened just for being there. As for the girl, I'm relieved she's okay. Truly, that's what matters most in the end: her life, her safety. And I won't let the drama overshadow that. But I also won't let this become a story where I'm the villain, because I'm not. I'm the one who ran outside. I'm the one who pulled her out of the water. I'm the one who called 911 and stayed calm and did CPR. And I'm the one who saved her life. That's the truth. No matter how loud the other side shouts, no matter how twisted the story gets in people's heads, that's what happened. So, Eta? No. I was put in an impossible situation, and I acted fast and did everything I could. Could some things have been done differently? Sure, but I never intended harm. I never neglected her. And most importantly, I didn't know she was there. So before you judge me, ask yourself, what would you have done if the door never knocked and you looked outside and a child was floating in your pool? Because I'll tell you what I did. I ran, I jumped in, and I saved her.